Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host 𝙒𝙧𝙤𝙀 Iyer. So, Chinese ship docks at Hambantota port, and the news channels have been covering nothing but this. And you should all remember, viewers, that we were the first ones to break the news, and we will, of course, claim boasting rights for having done so. But so now that the ship has docked, what happens next? Or should there be anything different? I mean, whatever they claim that they can do with the ship, are there other ways they could have done or they are doing? And what is the bigger picture about what is happening between India and China? To know all these things from a technological point of view, and then it extends to political point of view, General Ravi Shankar is going to lay bare a lot of facts that perhaps many of us have not connected the dots. So let's welcome General Ravi Shankar. General Ravi Shankar, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel, sir.
Namaskar. Thanks a lot for inviting me on the show once again, Mr. Sri Iyer. It's a pleasure to always discuss things with you. And good evening to all the viewers. And I'm looking forward to a good interaction.
Thank you,
This is an
sir.
event which is a little unusual, so I suppose we need to interact more.
Absolutely, sir. And General Ravi Shankar, the first question right off the bat, whatever spying that they think or India thinks that they can do using a ship, clearly they could have done it from high seas. After all, the international waters are what, 200 nautical miles plus 12 nautical miles, 212 nautical miles. I'm saying that somebody is really playing by the rule. Of course, if you use a sub, you get in as close as you want, as long as you can go by undetected. So lay a little bit about what really happens in such situations, and India, I'm sure, is aware of all these things. So kind of draws the technical parts of whatever this ship can achieve, and then we can expand the scope to other things happening around the India-China relationship.
Right. I think that we'll put the technical issues in context first, and then we'll go to geopolitical and geostrategic issues, because that's the bigger picture, and that's what people, I think, lot of our media have lost sight of. What you said is right. The ship like Yuan Wang, if you see, it's a satellite tracking ship, or it can track a missile, it can track whatever. It could also be doing a lot of electronic warfare activity, right? It's a spy ship. Call it what you want. It need not sit in Hambantota to spy on India. I mean, let's get this first. Like you said, it could be in high seas and do what it wants. Now, if it wants more greater detail about India, and if India it's its target, right? It can sail towards Bangladesh in the high seas between Andaman Nicobar and Chennai and be closer to India and track everything in India. What stops it? You can't do anything to it. It's in international waters. Okay? And closer. I mean, why should they sit at Hambantota, which is farthest away from. And the fact that some people are saying, oh, from there he can track Kalpakam, he can track the ITR, the interim trust range at Chandipur. How will he do it? There's no line of sight, nothing, 6,000, 1,000 kilometers away. Okay. What signals will he pick up? Kalpakam doesn't emit any electronic warfare signals, signals which can be picked up. It's not a communication station. So that, I think, is people are lost sight of. Spying on India, I think, no. What he can do is track any launches of missiles and things like that. Satellite tracking can be done anywhere, isn't it? So that is, again, this thing. You look at the timing of this movement of the ship. It times, the timing of the movement of the ship ties in with the launch of the Minuteman by USA. The ship was to come here 1 week before, isn't it? But it has come
Yes,
1 week
yes,
later. Why?
yes.
That launch of that Minuteman was also delayed by 1 year. Or 1 week, if you remember. Right? So, to that extent, it's more with that. Why it has come to Hambantota? It has come to refuel, do X, Y, Z. So, there is no And we also didn't have any launch around this time. No, what will he do sitting here? So he must have this thing. Why is China resorting to this? Surely USA is doing it, and India is also doing it from wherever it wants to about China. We do it probably from our basis. You have a strategic equation with USA. Your mainland, Diego Garcia, Andaman Nicobar, Agalaya, uh, Lakshadweep, you know, all these places plus Dubai, where I mentioned Dubai, the Gulf, where USA has got a number of bases, and in Asia Pacific region or around South China Sea, where either from Philippines or Japan or Korea, you actually hemmed China. You don't need to send a spy ship to track Chinese systems. You have bases. China doesn't have that. He has to rely on these tracking ships. He's exposed. Tomorrow, if there's something this thing and someone knocks off the ship, he's got a hole. He doesn't have bases. After he leaves Shanghai Post, next base is at Djibouti. In between, he can do nothing. So you have to understand why is he having these ships. That's the first thing. I mean, I don't know how many people have understood it. You have an unsinkable aircraft carrier in set off in Andaman Nicobar and Lakshadweep. You can put these for 3 or 4 satellite stations, Earth receiving stations there, and do what you want. Now, to track India or mainland and all, China's got enough satellites to do all that. Low Earth orbit satellites. So we have to put it in context. Now let's look at the major issue. What is the major issue? Major issue is China has tried to put a PLA vessel in Hambantota. What he's this is a start of a naval deployment there, which should alarm us, which has alarmed us, or rather, alarm bells have gone up. So, is this the first step to convert it into a naval base? Probably. Salami slicing, creeping, that's the Chinese method, and they're doing it. We also have to remember Hambantota is theirs. They've got a lot of rights there for 99 years. So, from a Chinese viewpoint, for them to get their ship into their port is not a great thing. Okay, so that's their way of looking at it, and they're getting a foothold in Indian Ocean region. For us, for the first time in the past 20 years, you have told China lay off. We've never done that before. You put pressure on Sri Lanka, and Sri Lanka has told them to defer the move. Whether the deferment was because of the delay in American launch of that missile or not, I don't know. I mean, we are all in this region of
Coincidental.
coincidental. But China has been very clearly told, please defer your move. Even their entry into the port after the deferment and all that is with conditions. They can't put certain systems off, they have to be switched off and all. It is only a logistics thing, and they have to get out in 1 week. So, to that extent, you've done a great message conveying to China that you can't have a free run anymore in Hambantota. For the first time, Sri Lanka has had you've given the Sri Lanka this,
The spine.
spine, I would say spine, the strength. Look, he's a partner, so I'll not be derogatory about Sri Lanka. So the strength to Sri Lanka to face up to China and say, please don't come. But we also have to realize that Sri Lanka is weak. Maximum debt of Sri Lanka is with China. If China wants and they don't restructure the debt, Sri Lanka will not get anything from IMF. So Sri Lanka has got limitations. There's no point in saying Sri Lanka has dished us and this and that. That chap is in pain. You need to help him. To think that ship wouldn't come here is, I think, far-fetched. If it doesn't come and dock at Hambantota, it could have asked for Colombo port, and you couldn't have refused it, isn't it? So China has tried something. For the first time, you have made it difficult for him to come here, and you brought it to international attention. Hereafter, China tries to make it into a naval base XYZ. You will have the international backing to stop it. Okay, and if you see what's happening in Taiwan, link it, the world opinion will be with you to stop this Chinese activity. Okay, I think we have achieved that diplomatic thing, that we made it difficult hereafter for China to enter Hambantota with naval ships. They can force their way still, but it will not be an easy affair. It will become a diplomatic issue. So this is the thing. So we'll discuss this and then we can widen the scope. I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. One quick observation, General Ravi Shankar. I think I wrote an article in about 3 years ago about China getting 99-year lease with the of Hambantota. Now, one of the clauses that was put was that the port shall not have any armed personnel from PLA. That was a rule. It was agreement. It was written down in the agreement. Yet people who were working in and around Hambantota, Sri Lankans, they noticed that all the civilians that were walking about of Chinese origin had a very military bearing. It's just that they were not wearing their uniforms.
I agree with you completely. Let's not be fooled by whatever China signs. China said we will continue with Hong Kong the way it is till 2050. They took it over in 2020, 30 years beforehand. Didn't they? Xi
Yes,
Jinping went to USA and promised Obama that he'll not militarize the South China Sea islands. Within 1 year, he did
exactly
it.
that. Yeah.
So look, when you're dealing with China, you should be very clear that none of these agreements matter. They're all hocus pocus to get China will do whatever, it will sign on anything. Tomorrow it will repudiate it. So let's be very clear. There's no point talking of it also. So the point is, in this condition, for the first time they've tried something. It's gone public. It's come into public notice. Hereafter, China will find it difficult to get their naval ships here. Sri Lanka has strengthened not to this thing. And also, we have to understand that despite all this, China has still not given them any aid. They're not helping Sri Lanka out. So they are actually hardening the public opinion in Sri Lanka. So for them to get any more ships and dock them here without this thing is going to be difficult. To that extent, I think we made a mark.
Well, it's just one of those things, General Ravi Shankar, the way I see it, and perhaps you can expand this. Let's take the thing a little bit further back. Let's take a step back. We took Dalai Lama in a helicopter and he went to Ladakh. And that had never happened before. So India did that. Also, some cleverly worded things have been quietly taken out from some of the statements that India has been making about Taiwan. So I'd like you to look at some of the ways India is hitting back. Maybe India is not physically pushing the 4,000 square kilometers of encroachment by Chinese PLA, but there are other things that are happening. Somehow
I
people
agree with
need
you.
to get the big picture. It's not like you
See,
have to conduct warfare only with one thing.
this is one incident. Like you rightly said, if pull out, get the bird's eye view. Dalai Lama going to Ladakh in an IAF chopper for the first time
Right.
and taking a picture, that itself would have heated up a lot of brains in China. Okay, it's a subtle message going across that you can open up the Tibet story. Okay, today Tibet is calm. It takes one sentence to sentences from a person like Dalai Lama or India to flare up Tibet. After that, what happens, we don't know. And whatever happens, uh, China will be in problems. So that's a message. We didn't talk of one China. What happened? Very next day, that ambassador, took a press conference. He was so worried that we didn't even mention one China. You just drop that one China from your talk. You see the reaction. You're doing exercises with US in Oli, near Dharamsala, 100 kilometers from the LAC. It's a far distance, and 100 kilometers across from the LAC, you are in the foothills virtually. But still, everyone says, "Oh, will India and will USA come to India's aid if there's a war with China?" Might not. That's a different. That is at that point of time. But the fact that our armies are going to do an exercise in mountains and high altitude there will send alarm bells in China. Flip it. What if we come to know Pakistan and China are doing some exercises 100 kilometers the other side of LAC? What will you think?
Right. They're readying for what?
Why are they doing it? You will say collusive support X, Y, Z. And if you do that here, you might be doing it for different purposes altogether. You have to see it in the fact of Quad, Indo-US strategic cooperation, what's happening in Taiwan. All this is happening here. So you have a case where China is being told lay off from Hambantota. Dalai Lama goes to that place, Ladakh. There's a Indo-US exercise starting in near the LAC. Some S-400s are being delivered very shortly. See, if you connect all the bigger pictures, then you see, and one China has taken off. Okay, all this, there is something happening. When is this happening? When China is huffing and puffing against Taiwan. Remember, not only Nancy Pelosi, more congressmen have gone 1 week later.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ed Markey,
Now
Senator. Yeah.
all this is happening. What does it convey? And also, don't forget, you banned Viva. You carried out raids against Vivo and Xiaomi for tax evasion. Okay, that VLC media player you banned because it's got Chinese connections, though it's a Canadian firm. There are issues. Okay, there are issues. So let's not think that if you look at the Yuan Wang, they're coming, they're not coming. That's what the media is all agog about. That's I think very. Uh, that's a very how do I put it across? Myopic way of analyzing things. I think we have to look at the broader picture. When something is happening in Taiwan, you're doing something. Now China will start thinking, what if this situation goes out of hand? And when we are trying to go towards China, something is happening on the LAC. I mean, you have to think, put it yourself in Chinese boots. You've done nothing.
And yes, indeed, sir.
Signals.
So let's talk about a little bit about the thing that I had measured. I mentioned in the title, which is measures, countermeasures, and countermeasures. So let us say that this guy is maybe he's trying to find out by emitting some signals to get an estimate of, say, how much thorium is there on the coast of
You
South
can't
India.
do that.
I'm just giving you hypothetical.
The thorium doesn't give. Look, that's what I'm trying to say. This ship can only receive signals unless someone is emitting. You don't get radioactivity so far away. And why should he do it? He can do it from satellites much more easily. And how much thorium can you? The entire sands of Kerala are full of thorium. Even if you take an estimate of how much thorium is there, what will you do? These are all wishful thinking that he can do anything useful. I mean, let me be very honest with you. That part of the story is something I think we are running after the wrong hair.
No worries, General Ravi Shankar. Since I put it in the title, I just wanted to
I
touch
understand.
upon measures,
I understand.
countermeasures, and countermeasures. What do these mean? When we use these terms, I know what it means. Maybe you can.
These countermeasures and EC, see it is electronic warfare, ECW, electronic counter warfare, then ECCM, electronic countermeasures. These are the things. in the electronic warfare terminology and phraseology, you can extend it to surveillance, you can extend it to geopolitics, you can extend it to anything. The focus today is on the surveillance and electronic measures. That's why you're talking of measures, countermeasures, and countermeasures. But those are not the issue. Those are not the issue. The issue is that that ship could have done all this by not being in Hambantota, but closer to your port, and you could have done nothing about it. That's the point. We are missing that wood for the trees completely. They've come there for a purpose. The purpose could be anything. Like, it could be hydrography. It could be finding out how a place where they can track their own satellites. After all, they have to control the satellites. If you put so many satellites up in space, you have to control them. These are low Earth orbit satellites. They have to be put into particular orbits. They have to do. They could do. They might be trying for that. We don't know. But to say that a satellite tracker is going to, do electronic warfare on you, I think is stretching your imagination a little too far. Yeah.
General Ravi Shankar, I just had to take care of somebody at the door.
Yeah, no problem.
I'd like you to just touch upon one thing, sir. What it is that in POK and in Gilgit Baltistan area, there are daily protests going on right now. And it has been completely suppressed. The reason why it is happening is they're saying, wait, we are supplying power to the rest of this country, and they have some of the longest power outages there. Perhaps you can explain a little bit about what is really going on in POK and Gilgit Baltistan. And they are saying, looking at their neighbor, their lights are on, mine are not. What's going on?
But then, I agree with you. It's not only in POK and Gilgit Baltistan, but in the rest of Pakistan also, there's no electricity for about 18 hours. Pakistan is virtually living in darkness for over 12 to 18 hours. So they have problems. They have fundamental problems in Pakistan. All the independent power producers in Pakistan are basically Chinese, where their power producing agreements assure them of revenue. Now that revenue is something Pakistan has not been able to pay. If Pakistan has not been able to pay that revenue, all these power plants are shut down, and the Chinese are not able to produce the power or have refused to produce power. So there's no electricity. Whatever little electricity is there in Gilgit Baltistan from those dams which are there. Now, if that has to be given to down the line to Pakistan, Punjab, and all these places, they don't have, so they're up in arms. And whatever they are producing is not enough for the rest of Pakistan. So Pakistan is in absolute problems. And let that wound fester. Let Gilgit Baltistan fester. Let people, carry on with their thing. At the right time, you can do many things. So at this point of time, we are quite okay. We're quite okay. Pakistan is in, its own problem. We know that we've discussed it. One of the best things to do is leave Pakistan where it is and let it fester in its own, juices, stew in its own juices. China is getting into that kind of a situation. I mean, I'm sure you would have known, everyone would know, they had to go for a rate cut because their economy was tanking. The July indicators are very bad, I believe. 4 or 5 firms, their major state firms, have been delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. That mortgage refusal to pay mortgages is on. And in all this...
We're talking about China here.
Yeah, we are talking of now China. And the viral cases are quite a bit. At any given point, anything between 25 to 50% of China is under lockdown. They're selling less, they're exporting less, they're consuming less. Their economy is bad. So if their economy is bad, Xi Jinping's position comes under question mark. So he has to build nationalism, which is the easiest way of building nationalism. Fire a few missiles off Taiwan. You can't get and capture Taiwan. You don't have the strength to do that. So you fire a few missiles and create halabulla. You've done that. Now you're getting it back. China, US has moved fleet closer. They are going to do some operations. They have also done their missile test. You are also doing something. So balance.
So there's more coming your way, viewers. There is two-episode interview that I did with Elmer. P1 aired today about 8 hours ago. Do go and watch that because whatever General Ravi Shankar has touched upon is expanded in great detail.
Must be.
General Ravi Shankar, it's not just fleet movement. Here's what is happening. The bullet trains are not able to get out of their stations, and there is some serious hacking going on, and they don't know who's doing it. That's the point. They don't know who is really
See,
stopping those trains.
see, you forget the those only. I mean, what I was saying, I'm okay with it. There's another report. Yangtze water has reduced. There are power outages in Sichuan province completely. The
Yes,
factories are shut.
yes. 6 days. Yeah.
6 days. I mean, just imagine 6 days if a factory is shut. And there are floods in the northern part. There are temperatures up to 104 degrees Fahrenheit. Not a joke. And it's China's history. Whenever there is internal problems, they externalize. That's what is happening. We have to be clear how to contain China, and that is what is happening. Okay. So we should not get unnecessarily worked up about small things like a ship coming into Hambantota and all. Another major issue: the Indo-US strategic partnership is working well. I mean, I don't know how many people have.
So, viewers, this is what I want you to understand, and General Ravi Shankar will back me up on this. United States has three or four different ways in which they make decisions, especially when it comes to outside. And one of the things that they do is, the politicians are here today, gone tomorrow. So there is the short-term strategy, knee-jerk reactions, that sort of stuff. But when it comes to long-term strategy, building a trustable partner, all these things, India scores very high in the region as far as US is concerned. US is looking at, see, US is the cop for the world, whether we like it or not, whether we agree to it or not, because they are the ones who are basically trying to make sure that there is no mayhem on high seas and so on and so forth. Till today, it could change. But so the point I'm trying to make is the defense establishment in the United States is completely in lockstep with the thinking in India. This is how I seen it. I've seen a lot of people tell me this, and therefore, even though a certain Ilhan Omar might be moving a resolution against India, it's just fly off of the elephant's back. It doesn't care. So it's a huge thing. So do you think this perception is right, General Ravi Shankar?
I think it's 100% right.
Thank
I
you.
mean, look, to give a historical context to it, this entire business of the Indo-US strategic partnership started with a dialogue between Stroop Talbot and late Jaswant Singh. I mean, and Mr. Jaswant Singh, and it's moved. It's now 22 years, 2 decades, and it is built. You come on to some foundational agreements. You done increase the training. You'd increased your capacities, joint capacities. See, till 2004, US didn't consider India to be, something significant. 2004 tsunami changed everything. In 2004 tsunami, for people who don't know that type of history, in 2004 tsunami, there was widespread damage all over ASEAN, this side, right up to the African coast. US Navy could not reach everywhere. Local navies, Indonesia, Japan, Philippines, Vietnam, they couldn't do much because they were stuck and they had to look after their own people. It was India and Indian Navy who came and did what it did. And then, I mean, people don't know. the US Navy and the Japanese Navy were dependent on Indian Navy for many things during that tsunami. And this was despite the fact that India was affected. And that is when late Shinzo Abe felt that India is a very critical player in the Indian Ocean region and nothing can happen without India. And from then, the strategic relationship has solidified over years. For people who don't understand, just open a map. Take India. The line India to Diego Garcia, where USA has a base. This line and the triangle with Andaman Nicobar Island, you control the entire Eastern Indian Ocean. This line with the US bases in Africa and in the Middle East, you control the Western Indian Ocean. Sea control. So there's more to it. This partnership has more depth than one flag waving what should I say politician.
Yes, and viewers, it's believed that the Buckingham Canal in Chennai is essentially softened the blow of the tsunami on Chennai. Chennai is a very flat city. You all know this. I mean, it rains for 5 minutes, and you will think that it's been flooded for like 1 year. That's the kind of water collection is very, very fast. And yet, the tsunami didn't do much damage. It did a little bit of damage thanks to the Buckingham Canal, which is supposed to have taken, at least it distributed the water fast and didn't let it, hit the land and the city itself. Anyway, that's just a question, interesting tidbit. General Ravi Shankar, how do you see the India-US relationship moving forward? Quad is one thing. There are many other things that are happening. I mean, one of the things I'm really aghast is India has been ahead of the curve in its promises to go green. India is always ahead. Today, what is happening is many countries are asking United States to give them coal to burn in their power plants so that they can generate electricity because they're afraid Russia won't give them oil and natural gas.
Yeah, be that as it may, we are going through a tough time internationally. In this tough times, which are the countries which are acting, behaving with some amount of strategic autonomy? I mean, let's look at it. Definitely, USA is, Russia is, China is to some extent, which is the fourth country, India. Name a fifth country which is behaving with the kind of strategic autonomy I'm talking of. Europe is not, UK is not, maybe to some extent France, but France also I think is stuck. So, in this kind of a thing, the strategic autonomy which India is today displaying, and the inherent strategic independence which America has put together, has a lot of value, right? To police this part of the world. Okay, so I think this partnership has come of age. There will be differences. After all, we have huge populations, huge countries, huge economies, and everything can't be same. We can't, and India has got its own way of thinking, which is probably not the American way of thinking by any stretch of imagination, right? So that's okay, but differences can be there in partners, but partners need to get over these differences, and that I think we are doing that beautifully. And
Thank
especially
you.
in this time, the way China has been contained, many people don't understand this. The way China has been contained, is being contained, is a prime example of geostrategic partnerships.
Thank you very much, General Ravi Shankar. We have a few questions from our
Yeah.
audience, so let's take some questions, please. The first one's from Magnet Ranga. To what extent are these issues aimed at Xi's own leadership challenges?
Thanks a lot for the question. I think it's a very intriguing question and an intelligent question. Uh, Xi Jinping is doing all this to ensure that his path uh, for his third term goes through. A lot of this fireworks against Taiwan is stoking nationalism in his own country, right? Initially, there was a blowback against Xi Jinping, but he's got over it. And every TV, with the censorship and control of media, he's the boss, right? Uh, all these issues, will there be a challenge to Xi Jinping? I don't think it's challenge to Xi Jinping as much as to contain China so that China doesn't get out of hand. And this is a time when China has displayed some vulnerability. And historically, whenever China is internally vulnerable, it has been externally aggressive. We are containing that aggression, right? And China is using this entire internal external aggression to get some internal, I won't say stability also, because China is internally unstable at this point of time. For it is for the Xi Jinping and the Communist Party to remain in power. All this play is going on. If you can understand this, the rest everything falls into play.
And we've done our best to try and keep you posted with views from people who have lived in China for many, many years. So I hope that you guys are all watching PGurus. Elmer is a big find for us and is brave. He has started the process to create an Hong Kong parliament. I don't know if you have seen that live press conference that we covered. It took place in Toronto last month. And so there are lots of things happening, just like Dalai Lama is heading the Tibetan government in exile. In fact, now the head is somebody else. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I mean, that the idea is that you can form a government in exile, and that's the basis for the first, as a first step for a revolution to take place. So interesting things happening there. Girinath Paranjoti wants to know, sir, I wanted to ask it last time but couldn't. In a war with China, will the world community support India similar to Ukraine? How long will they support? Asking due to China's economic power.
Well, that's a fair question. First and foremost, I don't visualize a war with China. Let's be very clear. The closest we came to war was 2 years back in Eastern Ladakh. Both countries stepped back because it's neither in Pakistan, China's interest, nor in our interest to get into a war. That's the first. Because the outcomes of this war will be devastating to both. Forget about India. Will China survive? Will Communist Party survive a war with India? I don't think so. That's going to be a bruising war. Then there's the issue of nuclear issues. Okay, the war, your moves in maritime domain are different. Okay, vis-a-vis actual war in across, you know, uh, uh, across terra firma. People are going to die. Emotions are going to run high. Land is precious, right? So the escalation factors in a land war are very, very high. So whether India and China will ever go to a war, difficult. If it's a chutput war like Eastern Ladakh, we don't need anyone's help. We can handle it. We can handle it better than anyone. As far as, and our economy is strong enough to handle it. Remember, we handled a lot of wars when we were far less poorer.
71 war. Yeah.
71,
65.
65, we had nothing. So, for a country like India to handle China is not a big deal. Our capacities are more. I'll give you a small. I'll take you away from this. I was, speaking to a good journalist, one of the solid journalists whom I knew. He used to ask me about Ladakh and Eastern Ladakh and what's happening there, X, Y, Z. For 2 years, I've been telling him. Today, I got a call from him. I said, where you been? He said, sir, I went to Ladakh and, Leh Ladakh and came back. I went to Chushul, I went to, not Chushul, I went to Pangong Tso, I went to Leh, I went to Kargil and came back. I said, what did you learn? He said, sir, whatever you told me is something which, I could never imagine. But having gone there, now I understand what life is there. Now I will not ask you the questions which I asked you. I've learned. It's so difficult to even to sleep there. How do you fight? So things change. Things are far different on ground. Hostile environment. It is beyond imagination. So the chances of this great war going on between India and China are out. That's my first proposition. The world will come to India's help, at least diplomatically, because now you're talking of ideology, a democratic ideology vis-a-vis a autocratic ideology. Okay, that will happen. It's in interest of many people that China is seen to be on the back foot. Anything with India, that will happen. You also have to understand this last word of economic power. China is on a decline. India is ascending. Whose economy is going by 6 to 7%, or predicted to go 6 to 7%? India's. I think either IMF or World Bank has said there is no chance of recession in India in this phase.
That's
But
right.
there's a good
That's right.
chance of recession in China. Whose economy is going better? Whose economy is contracting? China. You think China will come for a long war and kill itself?
Yeah,
It's
what
one thing
what
to track.
drains your what drains
It's
your
one
war
thing to
chest
track. Yeah,
treasury? Yeah.
it's one thing to tackle a small island like Taiwan militarily, and it's another thing to tackle 3,200 kilometers of LAC with India. So I don't. I'm quite sanguine that we can handle them.
Viewers, I think some of us kind of get worried too much, but you have to look at how India handled Pakistan in 1971. General Ravi Shankar, you were in service probably at that time, so correct me if my memory is wrong here. So what happened was Pakistan initiated the war, and they started bombing. Their Air Force planes came and started bombing India. In less than 24 hours, Indian MiG-21s went and smashed up entire fleet of the aircraft, Pakistani aircraft. All their they were sitting like sitting ducks on their hang on the tarmac. Everything finished. Then they blockaded their only port, Karachi. They sunk some ships. Of course, Pakistan also sunk one ship. Not only that, they set fire to the entire petrol containers
Oil
that were there,
refinery. Yeah.
oil refineries. I mean, within 72 hours, I think it was pretty much done. These guys couldn't do much.
I agree with you, but let me clarify. I was not yet commissioned into the army in 71. It was because of the 71 war that I joined the army. Fired up, right? But what you said is right. Pakistan was defeated in the first 72 hours. Thereafter, it was just a formality of going through events. And we not only finished off Karachi, we also blockaded Dhaka, and nothing could move into thing. So India has got this tremendous capability, and I won't, count on China making the headway it is, and China knows it. So I'm not too. I'm sanguine that we can handle it. We also have to remember, 2017 we stopped them at Doklam. They could do nothing about it. 2020 in Eastern Ladakh, they had to go back. These
Galwan.
things, Galwan, and right. So these things are still there. So, and I had then predicted that for the next 2 years or 3 years there will be no war. I think, if you remember, we had said that they'll not come back. I don't see
Right.
them coming back for the next 2 years also. Yeah.
Well, next question, please. Chaitanya Naidu wants to know, don't you think we need to invest massively in coastal security and sea denial capabilities and power projection? The detection of boat carrying weapons off the Maharashtra coast today is a wake up call again.
Yeah. That's a fair question. You're talking of coastal security, yes. Sea denial, look, let's not get into the sea denial, sea control. There are naval terms, they are more military terms. What we need is coastal security, right? We need detection, we need to see that, when you talk of sea denial or sea control, you're talking of from here to the high seas, right up to Malacca Straits or beyond, and things like that. One. Number two, you have to understand one fundamental thing. Historically, India is unassailable by sea. We have never been attacked by sea, by any power in our history. We've always been invaded from the land. Even when people came by the sea, they only came to establish trading posts. Once they got onto our land, then they could do what they want. But that era is gone. So I don't visualize any threat to our mainland. Yeah, one odd island in Andaman Nicobar can be taken, but that again, there are it's a big ask. Again, if you know the terrain conditions there, ground conditions there, it's not easy. There are very few places you can beach, and if you can't beach, you can't take an island. Okay, uh, so it's a difficult story, but such a long coastline, security, smuggling, X, Y, Z, fully feasible. We need to strengthen our coastal security, or intelligence capability, or surveillance capability of the coast. Protect our EEZ, right? Protect our territorial waters. Our territorial waters have, it's like it's your own water, it's your own territory. How do you protect it? That is more important. How do you have a network, surveillance network going? How do you do this networking between civil agencies, intelligence agencies, the Navy, the Coast Guard, ports? Maritime security is more important, right? It's not only coastal security, maritime. We are doing something. We are looking at maritime domain awareness. We are taken some initiatives, but that maritime domain awareness is more from a naval and geopolitical perspective, right? It's not from the coastal security perspective. But I think there's a fundamental thing that we need to do more.
Nagarajan Srinivasan wants to know, the media is filled with spy ship. We say IOR is our Indian Ocean region is our backyard. How we reconcile with Diego Garcia US military base?
Look, we say IOR is our backyard is a fact. Nothing can happen in IOR without India. No one can come and control IOR without India. That is a fact. It's a geostrategic fact. That doesn't mean no one else can come. Understand this, the difference between how you talk it. When you say it's your backyard, you can do what you want, largely. But that doesn't mean others can't do something. One. Number two, Diego Garcia is a US military base, not from now. It's from God knows when. After the Britishers just handed over the base. So that was a time when you didn't have any naval or maritime power the way you have today, right? And you have to live with it. And second, and next, at one point of time, Diego Garcia was inimical to us. Yes, but today it's your strength. It's your partnership. Like I told you in the beginning, the line from the mainland to Diego Garcia is the center line. It follows the Chagos archipelago. With the head is the Lakshadweep Islands. Okay, whoever controls this Chagos, and with the center being Maldives, whoever controls this archipelago controls Indian Ocean both sides. Today, you are in a strategic partnership with the USA. So Diego Garcia at the base and the mainland India, and with your uh, Andaman, sorry, Lakshadweep Islands, you are on a pig's back. So we have to be clear. Also, you have to understand: are you with US or not? If you are with US, Diego Garcia is something good for you. Otherwise, that's a different story. Today we are clear the USA and India is a strategic partnership and evolving partnership. In fact, if I quote President Obama, he said this will be the most consequential partnership of the century. So I leave it at that. Yeah,
Anu Amarpal Rangar wants to know, sir, how will the induction of A tags impact the scenario in Ladakh? Does it give an advantage during a skirmish?
let the attacks be inducted. That's the first question. And so, because it's not yet proven itself fully in high altitude, right? But it's just a gun. Uh, Let us see how it comes through, right? Yeah, naturally, you see, we are short of firepower overall. If a all-out war breaks, we will be a little strained. But like I said, that possibility is very less. Uh,
And again, viewers, I want to take you back to the 1965 war, in which India allowed Pakistan to march into desert in Rajasthan. And while they were doing that, India went as close as 4 kilometers to
of
Lahore.
Lahore.
In fact, that area was completely administered by India for several months. Postal system was India's, but currency was India's, and people were not happy that Indians were leaving. They said, "This is much better."
I agree with you
So
completely.
I so the point I'm trying to make is if China attacks in one place, it opens up the rest of the place for India to find some other point where they can go after China. In fact, most of the areas there are uninhabited. You break through one or two columns of defense, then it is open. You can go all the way up to Xinjiang. I mean, this is just a steppy,
Yeah, yeah, I
nothing
agree
much.
with you. I
Yeah.
agree with you. But the question he was asking about attacks the gun. Look, attacks is not a miracle gun. It's just another good gun. If it comes, it enhances our capabilities. That's it. Yeah.
BS Rai wants to know, sir, your viewpoint on deployment of ITBP in first layer and army on second layer on LAC.
See, these are evolving thoughts. Okay. As per the group of ministers' recommendation after the Kargil, they said that ITBP should handle the LAC. So it's good if it comes to that, because the army doesn't get involved one to one, and that's provided on the other side the Chinese also reciprocate and they pull their army back. These are initial thoughts, so let's not jump into this too early. It's too early. Too early days. I've just seen one odd report, a lot of discussion. Let's see how it goes.
And Hari Lalit wants, what about snooping in on our VLF facility? Can you expand that, please?
We'll wait, let him expand. Take the next question,
Yeah,
please.
yeah, yeah. Hari Lalit, can you please expand what VLF means? Next question, please. VLF
Oh, well,
transmission
yeah,
commission.
look, this is old. VLF transmissions, you can, snoop from anywhere. Why should you come to Hambantota to? That's why I said there's a lot of misconception. A very low frequency station can transmit to a long distance, and it's open. You can't, any VLF, you can't, you know, build too much secrecy into it. The bandwidths are low, right? So,
Akshay Kumar wants to know, sir, will Quad become active and squeeze Malacca Strait to checkmate China invasion of Taiwan?
it'll happen automatically. We don't need quad per se to happen. Let me explain to you. The moment China, tries to attack Taiwan, it has to deploy its navy in the Taiwan Strait. That happens, Japan has to deploy its navy, because if Taiwan falls, next it's Japan, Singapore, not Japan, Philippines, and Vietnam. Japan, Philippines, Vietnam will deploy their navies. Where will they deploy it? They'll deploy it ahead towards Taiwan. The moment that happens, or coincidental with that, even South Korea will deploy towards the north. So from South Korea, Japan, Philippines, and Vietnam will edge towards Taiwan. There'll be a, Taiwan, China will have to put a blockade. To counter that blockade, these chaps will come, because otherwise that blockade can develop into an attack into any of these nations. Then the US will also come into that area and deploy its strike force. So that area will be full of naval vessels. That means automatically there'll be no shipping out of China. When all this is happening, automatically India will go and sit in Andaman Nicobar and strengthen it, and the Malacca Strait becomes automatically blocked. Australia will come from the other side and get into the area between Lombok and Sunda Strait. It is natural. So it is like dropping a pebble in water, and you see the
Ripples.
ripple spreading. So you will have concentric circles of navies, different navies layered from Taiwan to Malacca Straits, automatic.
And all this is to try and make Xi Jinping a dictator for life. And for the latest update on that, do watch Elmer's video. The part 2 is going to air most likely in 24 hours time. So that will have even more data on this. So I just wanted to give a heads up to our viewers. Also, viewers, I have one other guest for the first time that is going to blow your minds away. I don't want to let out the secret yet, but stay tuned. We are going to have some new people gracing our channel. General Ravi Shankar, I think we are done with the questions today. As always, an enlightening session, sir. You bring out the best in me also. I'm always trying to find a way to kind of add a little bit here and there, complement the conversation, I guess. And thank you very much, sir. It's all in here. It comes out at the right time, I guess.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for the compliment, but it's always been a pleasure to be with you, Mr. Shreyar, on your show, and place where I can express myself without inhibition.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, sir. And again, namaskar.
Namaskar. Thanks.